Hello buddy, Crow back again with another pickups video, sitting here at a table because I finally had it cleaned off and I can finally sit down and do a pickups video. It's been a long time since I've been able to do that. I've got 20 games here to show off in this pickups video. Going back a couple months, maybe early October, maybe late September. The way I'm going to do things is I've got a couple IndieBox games I'll show off. Then I'll go through the limited run games, and then from there on out will be games that I've kind of picked up in order, because I've actually been keeping track of that. So we'll go through games I've picked up October, and games I got from my birthday, games I picked up for Black Friday, and then games I've picked up more recently. I honestly don't think I'll be picking up very much games from now till the end of the year, but if I do, the next pickup video won't be till next year. So without further hesitation, let's start with games from IndieBox. Now, as you may or may not know, IndieBox is stopping their monthly subscription. I don't think they're going to stop selling games, physical copies of games. I think they might just do it on a as they can license. It's just that the monthly model just wasn't working out for them. So these are the last two games. I've done unboxing videos for both of these, so I won't go into what's in the boxes, but I will have the links to those videos below in case you are interested. I did play these games briefly just to get a sense of what they are, so I can kind of talk about them in the video. But the first one we're going to do here is Invisible Ink, and honestly, the bonus that they put in here, the physical goodies that they put in here, bar none, the best I've ever gotten from IndieBox. I'm not going to talk about that here. If you want to see what that is, check out the separate video for this. But this is a turn-based strategy game. Really my type of game. I really enjoy it. I couldn't get into it really when I was playing it. But, you know, because basically I just wanted to play it just to get some footage, just to get an idea, wrap my head around it. I think I've got to be in the mood, and I'll really start getting into this game. But yeah, it's really fun. You're a spy, you're sneaking around corners, you looking, you're knocking out guards, knocking out cameras, and yeah, just trying to complete the missions. I only did 2 missions, but it does seem pretty enjoyable. Your spy group or whatever gets compromised, you're on the run, and I guess you're trying to set everything right. I don't know when I'll actually play this. Like I said, I got to be in the mood to play something like this, but when that mood comes, this game will be ready. Next up, the very last monthly IndieBox, Torchlight II. I did an unboxing for this as well. That unboxing was a little bit more popular than the Invisible Ink one, I think. Mainly because I think Torchlight 2 and Torchlight in itself is a more popular game. And honestly, I had no idea what to expect from this. I could have canceled it, but what I did was I looked online to see what the gameplay looked like. And it looked interesting, so I was like, yeah, keep it. It's the last one. Again, if you want to see what's in the box, check out that unboxing. But basically, what it reminds me of, and take this with a grain of salt, is kind of like a Diablo type of game where it's overhead and you're running around clicking on enemies and to fight them. Now, I say that because I've never actually played Diablo, but that's what Diablo looks like to me. And I know I need to get into Diablo. I just really haven't had the time to do that. I'll need to look that up and play those games one day. I wonder if it's on Good Old Games. I need to get on Good Old Games and buy some games. And I haven't bought anything, you know, just a little weird tangent. But Metal Jesus Rocks just the other day put up a video of his Good Old Games collection. And it got me thinking, you know, I haven't really been on Good Old Games. I know for starters, I'll buy all the Leisure Suit Larry games. They have all of them for like $5 right now. So I might do that. I might look up Diablo. But yeah, this game, just a little bit off topic there. It looks like that. It reminds me of a game I actually played a long time ago called Ragnarok Online. I think that game's still going, but again, it was an overhead, you know, click on the enemies to fight them type of dealy. This one, you select your type of warrior. I mean, you got a little bit of customization, but there's not a whole lot. You pick, you know, what your character looks like, you pick what kind of character you have, and then you also get this pet that comes along and helps you along the way. I kind of chose like this berserker warrior guy, and with a panther, because I thought that sounded cool. But yeah, this game, I played it for about, you know, 30 minutes to an hour just to get a handle on it. and you can get really in depth with it. I can see why people have poured hundreds of hours into this game. So I'm glad I wound up keeping this, the physical copy, the last monthly IndieBox subscription. So moving on, we'll cover the limited run games next. So these are the orders these limited run games came out in. I don't buy all the limited run games. I pick and choose. I don't feel the need that I have to buy them all. And the first one here is this Ys Origins Collection collector's box. I did do an unboxing for this as well. So again, this will be probably the last time I'll point you to a video for an unboxing. But if you want to know what's in here, there's that video. So I never played an Ys game before. A lot of people are telling me to get Ys 8. I know about Ys 8. I might, I'll look into that when it comes down in price maybe. But this game, action RPG, I watched a video of it. Looked really interesting, and honestly, I played a bit of it. I don't remember how much I played of it. I remember playing it during a stream, so I might have played an hour or two of it. But between this, the Torchlight 2, and Invisible Ink, I think I'm more likely to come back to this to play it a little bit more, because I do like the action RPG element of it. I know this is a really old game. It might even be like 7, 8, 10 years old at this point. I'm not even really sure. And it just got a physical release for the PS4. But I've never played it before, so it's brand new to me. I mean, it kind of does have a little bit of a dated look, but that never really bothered me. But yeah, I'm really glad I picked this up, because and the collector's edition, I'm gonna be honest, I could have done without. I just kind of was like, I'll just get the collector's edition, why not? All right, next limited run game that I got was Collateral Blaze. This is a shoot 'em up, and it's a really interesting one because you get a whole bunch of ships to choose from. Each ship has a different firing ability, so it's fun to flip out and switch between them and all that. And what's really interesting is you could tell the damage that your ship is taking based on the images on the side of the screen. It is a it's more of a Tate style shoot 'em up, so there's kind of some empty spaces that are on the side of the screen, and what they've done there is put like images of your character or whatnot. But the more damage you take, the more ships you lose. You can tell how many lives you have left by the amount of clothes your character has lost in the image, and the same goes for the enemies that you're fighting as well. So it's really interesting in that part. I really wasn't expecting that. All I really knew is like, oh, it's a shoot 'em up for the PS4. I gotta buy it because I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. So anytime limited run games put up some sort of shoot 'em up, I'm like, yeah, I gotta get it. And yeah, I did the same thing with this as well. Let's see here. Oop, disc was kind of loose in there. I'm just kind of curious if, yeah, full color manual. Sometimes there's not really much of a manual in here, but yes, this does have a full color manual. And the trading card. Does this have two kind of manuals? There's like oh yeah, there's like a mini art book sort of in here as well as a manual. So yeah, so that's pretty awesome. Moving on, next game looked pretty interesting. Absolute Drift Zen Edition. Now I don't think I'm going to check this out first. Yeah, just a little slip of paper, not really much of a manual. But this is an overhead driving game where a lot of the emphasis is on the drifting. This took quite a bit of time to get used to because of the way the cars drift. It doesn't really drive like a lot of other driving games I've played, especially since it is an overhead view and it's really so easy to drift. But it really took a long time to get used to, but once you do, it's kind of really interesting to navigate these courses, coming close to pylons and stuff to earn as many points as you can. Basically, you go through scenario after scenario and you try to meet the goals, one of which mainly is to meet a score and exceed that score. And sometimes when you're playing some of these levels, you're like, holy crap, I can't even come close to that score. But then you got to remember that you've got to chain certain your abilities together, skills or whatever. You've got to drift near that, and then within a certain amount of time you got to drift near that. You can't crash, you can't drive slow. But then once you get that multiplier going and you get used to the game, you're easily exceeding the scores you need to. So this game I wouldn't recommend for everybody. It just does take quite a bit of time to get the handle on how the game plays. But it was really fun once I got the handle of it. I actually don't remember if I played that during a stream or not. I think I did. I actually think I did, because I think I also played this one the same day. Chariot. I looked up video for this. This was a must-have, because this is really interesting kind of platformer where it's you, and I guess, you know, two people can play this simultaneously, but I just played this by myself. You've got to navigate this chariot throughout these levels and collecting gems or whatnot. The chariot is really like a reincarnation of your king or something like that. It's really bizarre, but really, you have to tow this chariot with you throughout the levels. You can't get too far away from it. But, you know, it's just weird. There's certain areas where the chariot can go that you can go, and there's certain areas that you can go that the chariot can't go. And it's just a matter of using this rope. You can pull on the rope to bring it closer, let loose on the rope to let it dangle. It's just a really clever game. You could use it to, like, you know, the chariot up higher, to climb up to a higher level. This is just a really, really clever platformer, and I really haven't seen anything like this in a long time. So, obviously, I had to get it, and I got addicted to playing this for an hour or two, I guess. But, you know, just because I want to move on to other stuff, try out some other games. But I could definitely see myself coming back to this. This is just really, really interesting game. And again, all these limited run games are going to be hard to find physical copies of, but they are available digitally. So I wouldn't hesitate to recommend Collateral Blaze, Absolute Drift, if it's a decent price and you're willing to work at it. But I definitely do recommend this for anybody that's interested in a unique kind of platformer. Last limited run game. Now this is kind of a unique situation because they didn't release this one in the regular format. In fact, I bought this over a year ago and I just got it in the mail recently, and that is Skullgirls second Encore. They did something a little bit different with this one, wherein they took the orders ahead of time before making the run. So after they took the orders, I think there were some issues with wanting to press the absolute final version of the game on this disc, and I believe that's what took so long with them actually coming, you know, releasing this. But it's a really fun 2D fighter. Now, everybody might be familiar with Skullgirls. I mean, it's been around PS3, Xbox 360, I remember it was on, but there was never really no physical version of it. I believe this is the very first physical version of this. This also came with a soundtrack, which I haven't opened yet. I did play this for a little while. It was really fun. It was kind of intuitive to play, in a way. One of the interesting things you can do when you're playing the arcade mode is you could choose between, if you want to select 1, 2, or 3 characters. And if you choose 2 or 3 characters, you can swap out between them in the gameplay. But if you choose one character, that character's is really powerful, whereas if you choose 3 characters, they're slightly weaker, but you can swap them out. I preferred to play as just one character, just because I not really familiar with a whole lot of characters. I chose a couple characters to play as. Really fun, really well animated game. I'm glad I do have a physical copy of this, but if you can't get the physical copy, which I don't know. I wonder what this goes for on eBay. All right, I had to check. I had to check on eBay to see what this was selling for, and it looks like it's selling for somewhere between $90 and $120, $130 for both the game and the soundtrack. That's probably all sealed. I've already opened mine up. Yeah, it's a fun game. Very well animated. This has got a lot of stuff in here. It's got this weird stained glass image kind of dealy in there, and it's got a really, really thick manual explaining all the characters and the moves and everything. Really funny to me how, like, all these AAA games don't even bother putting manuals in here yet. These indie companies are doing that. It looks like it's got a reversible cover is in there as well. I didn't even check for that before. But yeah, it really doesn't matter because it's got the slipcase over it. So I like to have the slipcase the same as the cover on the inside. But let's move on. That was all the limited run games. All right, moving on to all the games. 3 games I picked up before my birthday. I'm going to start out with the South Park, The Fractured Butthole. I ordered this on Amazon, and I spent the extra money. just because of the steelbook. I am a sucker for steelbooks. So you've got the front and the back. And this is my favorite kind of steelbook, where you've got the case that goes on over it. But again, in true AAA fashion, no manual. They included postcards, which I think is goofy. I don't know why postcards, but no manual. I'd prefer they have a manual rather than postcards. But yeah, I played this. I streamed it a bit. And what I got to say about this, it includes the Stick of Truth, so I have to download for that for the PS4. But I already played that on the PS3, so I don't know if I'm going to play it again. But I think I actually like the Stick of Truth more, story-wise. I actually like the battle system in the Fractured Butthole better, because it's more of a strategy base, and it's very fun to pick and choose what kind of moves you want to do for your character. But the story, I just have to say that after playing through the whole game, I'm a little bit disappointed in it, because it didn't seem to get as crazy as the story in the Stick of Truth did. The Stick of Truth story started out and things started getting crazy, and they're like, oh, I can't believe that I'm fighting Nazi cows or something like that, and you know, just the end of the game, I'm not going to ruin it, it was the only play. I didn't see where they could go from the end of that game. And yeah, the Fractured Butthole actually kind of disappointed in that regard, because things worked up a little bit and then it just kind of went down, and you're like, oh, that's who the final boss is? Really? Now, this did have the Season Pass in it, so whenever they do come out with new content, I'll probably come back to this and look at that new content, because this was a fun game to play. It was fun to explore. It's pretty much the same town as the original. I think a lot of people complained about that, but this game is just a straight off, you know, continues right off of the Stick of Truth. It's like the Stick of Truth ends and then the Fractured Butthole starts. So I could see why they would want to do that. Have the same town layout and everything. You know, things actually left exactly the way they were at the end of the Stick of Truth. But it's a good game. I do like it. It's one of my favorites of 2017. But I would say that it's not as good as the Stick of Truth, story-wise. And I think in a game like that, that's what is more important, the story. Moving on. This game, when I found out this game was coming out, I had to pre-order it on Amazon. I honestly don't know how much I paid for it. I want to say it was like 30 bucks. Hang on, I could find out. Well, it looks like Rayman 5 was a $40 game, and that's what I paid for it. I'm surprised I didn't get a discount, a 20% discount, because of Amazon Prime, but this does say it's a limited edition, so maybe that counted against Amazon's, you know, they only do the 20% thing on standard editions if you pre-order it. So I do remember pre-ordering this, but apparently since it's a special edition, it didn't count for anything as part of a discount. So $40 game. It's a really fun shooter. I like what they did on the sides of the screen, where, you know, it's a Tate mode shoot 'em up. So normally there would be a lot of empty space on the screen, but they filled it all up with stuff and information. There's always this random chatter going on in the background of the game. Kind of funny, but, you know, kind of annoying in a way, but it really didn't really matter that much to me, because I kind of blocked it out. It just kind of always heard this random mumbling in the background. It really didn't matter to me. All I knew was that I was going forward and shooting, killing everything. You get a selection of ships to choose from, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, with different, no, actually, maybe it's only one ship you get to choose from, what would list different laser types. I could see myself playing through this multiple times, just selecting different weapon types, just to see what's different about it. This limited edition, the only thing that comes with is a soundtrack in here. So you've got like a double sided double disc thing in here with just both of them. No instruction manual or anything. It's a fun shoot 'em up. I recommend it for anybody. $40 is kind of a steep price for this, I think, but it should come down in price fairly soon. In fact, I'm looking on Amazon right now, and it's there for $31.99. I think $30 is a good price for it, so go ahead, buy it on Amazon if you're into shoot 'em ups, and you don't already have Rayman 5. Next up, we got one of the biggest releases of the year, Super Mario Odyssey. I've had this pre-ordered since E3. I wasn't really sold on this game when they first showed it off in like late last year, because all they really showed was Mario running around the the New York, downtown New York sort of area or whatever, which we know now is New Donk City, which is a hilarious name for a city. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I played this a lot, maybe for about 2 weeks straight. I couldn't stop playing this game. A lot of people say it's a lot like Mario 64, and it kind of is, but I'm not really a big fan of Mario 64, so I will say it's a lot like Mario Galaxy. But yeah, going from land to land and finding all the levels. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to find, and just finding levels is a thing. So you wind up going back to a lot of areas. I do like the different costumes Mario can wear. One of my personal favorites is that Mario's golf costumes there, the American one. I wound up playing to a point to where I finally earned enough coins to get the skeleton outfit. And that was just so weird. I think I stopped right there. I said, I gotta stop playing this. This is just getting a little too weird. Will I go back to this? I might go back to this sometime in the future. I got other Switch games that I think I'd rather be playing at this point. But this was a really good run through. The New Donk City area wound up being really good. That was the area I was most worried about, because you got all these normal looking people and the goofy, distorted looking Mario running around. And somehow it works. I like how it's there's a whole song in there that you play through, and Donkey Kong is even in the game. But this is a really fun game. Throw your hat, possess enemies, solve puzzles, platformer type of dealie. I do have one complaint about this game. There's certain moves you need to shake the controller for. That is where I would really deduct 1 point from the game. So if I had to grade this on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give this a 9. Only because they still managed to squeeze in motion controls. Moving on, these were games that I got for my birthday, which was in November. I actually bought one myself, and I got 2 as gifts, mainly because I said I wanted these games, so they wound up going out and getting me these games. Cave Story Plus for the Switch. Metal Jesus Rocks had recommended this, so I had my eye on it, and when somebody asked me what they should get me for my birthday, I said, hey, how about this? And it's really fun, kind of 8-bit looking, running, shooting type thing, kind of like action RPG where you shoot and stuff. And played this for a while. It's really entertaining. I assume that you get better guns sometime in the game when you do find your first gun, you're shooting, and then you wind up upgrading, and you're, oh, this is pretty cool. And I guess there's a little bit of puzzle solving to do in this as well. I got up to a certain point where I fought like one of the bosses. And it was pretty fun to do that. Kind of reminded me a little bit like Mega Man, not too much though. But yeah, this game is perfect on the Switch. I could see myself playing this on the TV and enjoying it on the go as well. I don't play the Switch a whole lot in handheld mode, but I could definitely see myself playing this game. This does have some bonuses in there as well. And it's funny is that like all these third-party companies that are coming out with these indie games are having all these bonus things put inside the case. Meanwhile, the more popular AAA games, they don't bother to give you anything but the disc. This came with a little soundtrack, and what's funny is it's like The Binding of Isaac. This came with a little NES style manual as well, and that's the thing I think is really awesome, is when they do little things like that, and it fits right in there. I was always wondering why they didn't put stuff on this side of the package, but putting it here and having a little manual like that, I do like that. So it winds up working out for the best. So that's Cave Story Plus. Also, this game looked really interesting, and it's by the same publisher that published Binding of Isaac and Cave Story. So this is Tiny Barbarian DX. My sister-in-law actually got me this because I was like, hey, this seems kind of interesting, but I don't really see this in the stores. So she ordered it. Again, like Cave Story, I think these retail at like $30. And this game is a blast. I can't wait to actually get back to this one. Little 2D side scroll, and then you play a little tiny barbarian on the screen, but everything's tiny. So so it's it kind of works out. So it kind of is normal size because everything is tiny, I guess. But you could just see a lot of the screen. You run through, you use your sword or whatever to attack everything. just animated really well, 8-bit looking game. I don't know how to explain this. It's just 2D action platformer game, the kind of game you really don't see these days, except in indie games like this, and they have a physical copy of this as well. It's just awesome. And they jam-packed this thing with a little pouch that's got a little keychain in it, which is kind of, it's awesome, but it kind of makes the package kind of puff out a little bit. It's got a reversible cover in here, and again, like Cave Story, it's got a NES style manual in here, and it's a really thick one too. So this is really just awesome to have and see, like, companies putting the effort to put manuals and stuff back in games like this. And I'm gonna move on. So GameStop for my birthday, it sent me a coupon. A lot of, you know, restaurants or whatever, oh, you know, 20% off, free entree, you know, that kind of thing. So GameStop had sent me 20% off of a pre-owned game. So I was looking around. There were a couple pre-owned games that I had my eye on that I was waiting to get, and this was one of them. I found a copy of Killer Instinct Definitive Edition. I think this was in the store for, like, I don't know, it's like $25 or something like that used, which is still cheaper than what it goes for new on Amazon. And then with the 20% off, this wound up being like 20 bucks. So I was like, 20 bucks for this. I need Xbox One games. I don't have that many. And this was that one I definitely wanted to have. Didn't really have much in it. I don't know if this came with a manual. This might have come with download codes that I was unaware of. Because there are, even though this is the definitive edition, which I would argue against, 2 characters were still locked behind paywalls. So I don't know how they can call this the definitive edition when you don't include everything right from the get-go. They might have had codes for those characters, I don't know, to prevent people from buying it used like me. I don't think I'm going to be purchasing those characters because they're like $5 each. That would just add another $10 onto the cost of this game. But there's plenty of other characters, and I think the 2 characters that are missing are, they're there. Okay, this is what's really annoying about it, is that the computer can select those characters. They're in the game. It just won't let you select those characters. I remember when people used to make a big deal about content that was on the disc, that it wouldn't let you play. But apparently people don't care about that anymore. It's okay for content to be on the disc that you can't play. Either that or just downloaded it, because another thing, this thing took a long time to install, because when I put the disc in, it needed 35 separate files to update. I was sitting there forever waiting for everything to load. It was wound up being like around 50 gigs that needed to be downloaded from the disc and installed on the Xbox One. I don't even know what was downloaded, but it's just crazy. But honestly, the game wound up being pretty fun. Now, I'm terrible. I'm really terrible at Killer Instinct. I tried playing 1 and 2. I'm just terrible at them. I can't get the hang of them. And this is no different, but it was still fun to play. I even tried doing a little bit of the tutorial, but when I went to the arcade mode to try and play, I still wind up losing. So what I wound up doing was I found there's a CPU versus CPU option. I just wound up watching that. So, wow, that's really cool. I wonder if I'll ever be able to do those kinds of moves one day. But still, I think this is a must-have for Xbox One, so that's why I had to get it. And I wound up watching the computer fight each other for like half an hour or so, just to look at all the characters and what they can do. It's just a really cool game. I'm just not very good at it, but I had to have it because I've got an Xbox One. Alright, I picked up a couple games for Black Friday. Actually, I picked up 4 games on Black Friday. Let's see, where do I want to go? I think most of these came from Walmart. I think all of these came from Walmart. So first of all, we've got Batman Arkham Knight. I wasn't gonna buy this unless they came out with a greatest hits version, or a version like a definitive edition version, because Warner Brothers likes to hide things behind paywalls. But this was 12 bucks at Walmart when I scanned it, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll get it, because I played the other 2 Arkham games, and I just haven't played this one. And again, AAA game doesn't include anything but the game, apparently. So yeah, I played like maybe half hour or an hour of it. I don't quite remember, but it's very similar to the other games from what I've seen so far. Takes off right from where Arkham City ended. chaos in Gotham. Actually, it was peace for a while in Gotham City, and then chaos erupts. You know, it looked like the Scarecrow was a big part of this, and then you saw the Penguin, Two-Faces are in there as well. I'm sure there's a lot more, but again, I barely scratched the surface of this. I just wanted to jump in and played a little bit. I played a little bit of the Batmobile. I don't know. I thought it would be cool, but I kind of don't like the Batmobile in this game. I don't know. Maybe it'll be something I like better the more I play the game. But yeah, I just had to get this. 12 bucks, you know. And then if they do come out with a definitive version, maybe I'll buy that too. But it doesn't look like they're interested in doing that kind of thing. I mean, even when Mortal Kombat XL came out, they didn't put everything on the disc. They had download codes. So that's Warner Brothers for you. And then this was $19, Horizon Zero Dawn. This came out the same time Breath of the Wild did. It came out the same week as Breath of the Wild did. Since I had a Switch, actually it came out the same week as the Switch, now that I think about it, because Breath of the Wild was a launch game on the Switch. So I heard people talking about this. They're like, oh, it's a similar game, it's really awesome, whatnot. So for $19, I decided to pick it up, and somebody mentioned that, oh, you know what, they're coming out with there's the Frozen Wilds, I think it is, which was an expansion for this, and they're going to come out with another version of this. And had I known this, I might have not bought this. Still $19. This game, when I complained about a story taking over gameplay, this was driving me crazy, because it was like an hour before you actually play as the character as you're meant to throughout the game. And, you know, the whole beginning of the game, you're playing as her as a child, doing this, doing that. And I know that they're teaching you things about the game, but in contrast, Breath of the Wild just kind of threw you out in this open world and said, do whatever you want. Whereas this game is like hand-holding you for like over an hour to get used to it. But it does seem like an interesting concept where you're like, it's kind of like kind of barbarians going up against machine animals, kind of. So, you know, I just had to get it. You know, it seems like one of these must-have games for the PS4. I did play it once I finally got into it. It seemed pretty interesting to go out and explore. It's the kind of thing where I think I'm going to have to get used to it. You know, honestly, I did have to get used to Breath of the Wild as well, and that took several hours. So I think I have several more hours of this game before I start to really get into it. But it looks really nice. Like, I don't have a PS Pro. I know everybody's onto the PS Pro, but I don't have a 4K TV either, so I'm fine with 1080p and my regular PS4. And still, this game looked pretty good to me. So yeah, that's Horizon Zero Dawn. Also at Walmart, picked up this Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 remix. I've actually only played the first Kingdom Hearts game before. This was $19, and this has 6 games in it. So what's funny is that we've actually have Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 as separate titles on the PS3. But honestly, if I could play on the PS4, I think I'd rather do that. $19 seemed like a good price. So actually, those PS3 titles were my wife's, and I think I'll just take this one. I don't know. I was started to play Kingdom Hearts again, the first one, just to, and it's like so weird because it's like I haven't played that game since I was in college, like 15 years ago or so. Yeah, it's like 15 years ago, maybe even a little bit more than that. And games back then on the PS2 and everything played a little bit differently. So, you know, just the way the buttons are and the way you do things just don't gel correctly. Like, I'm so used to X being the jump button, but here X is your attack button. So it's just shifting buttons around. This might take some getting used to the play again. But will I play through all of these? I don't know. I don't even know if these are all the Kingdom Hearts games. I think it is. I'm going to have to look that up. Because if they ever do come out with Kingdom Hearts 3, I might be interested in playing that. But this, yeah, looks pretty good. Still, it looks kind of dated, but you can tell it's updated from a PS2 game. And I don't really know anything about the other 6 games that are on there. I actually played Kingdom Hearts 2 just a little bit. But enough to get to the point where we finally play as Sora, but I didn't play beyond that. So who knows, I might be playing this someday. So many games to play, so many games to play. I don't know what to play first. And then finally, the last pickup on Black Friday was this Rayman Legends Definitive Edition. I do have Rayman Legends on the Vita, but I don't know if I'm going to play it on the Vita. This is the Definitive Edition. It was $19. I was trying to think of what I was trying to say, and again, nothing in there. I didn't do that on Horizon's Dawn and Kingdom Hearts, but yeah, nothing in there as well. But I didn't really expect anything. I really didn't expect anything like this for this either, because it is, of course, Ubisoft. But game itself is really fun to play. It's a fun platformer. Just a lot of stuff going on. We have you're pulling on things, you're trying to solve puzzles while you're platforming, and yeah, just punching enemies and stuff. Really fun game. They've come a long way since the original Rayman game that I played on the PlayStation. So yeah, I'm glad I picked this up. And but yeah, and this is exactly the kind of game that's good to play on the TV or portable as well. Now, shortly after Black Friday, I was in a GameStop and I saw this game, Ori and the Blind Forest, and I was reminded by a video I watched by My Life in Gaming, where it was like indie games that got, digital games that finally got physical releases, and this was one of them. It looked really cool, and I had it in the back of my mind, and I saw it at GameStop, and they wanted $20 for this used, and I'm like, that's interesting, and I picked it up, and then I looked it up on Amazon, and on Amazon it was $20 new, so I wound up ordering this on Amazon. I don't think this has anything in there but the disc, yeah. But what's funny about this is that it includes the original version and the Definitive Edition. I don't know what the difference between the two is, and I don't know why you wouldn't just play the Definitive Edition. But it's a really fun, I would say kind of like a Metroidvania style game where you're going through this 2D labyrinth of a forest and trying to discover things and platform and fight enemies. It's got a really cool leveling up system. Honestly, this is one of those games I kind of want to go back to and play as soon as I can too. So I wound up playing this for about an hour or so, just to get to one of the major story elements of the game that kind of tells the story about how the owl this owl stole, or bird or whatever, stole the soul of the forest or whatever. Everything used to be all hunky-dory and nice and everything, and then all of a sudden everything turned to shit or whatever, and it was because of this eagle or whatever that stole something from the forest. And I think it's up to you, some kind of weird spirit animal, to go back and make everything right again. And it's just an amazing looking game, and it plays really cool too. And it's just kind of funny to figure out, like, oh, how do I get to this area? How do I get to that area? And then you gain a new ability, and then you can go back and say, oh, I can go back and to this area and finally access this thing that I couldn't before. So yeah, this is a really cool game, and I think this might be the best game I own on the Xbox One. And honestly, if you do own an Xbox One, I think this is one of those games you kind of have to have. Alright, only 2 more games to go. This one I got in the mail recently. I ordered this a long time ago. This is Rime on the Switch. Now, I know this is available for other platforms, but I actually ordered this months and months and months ago, like shortly after the Switch launch. And the reason I ordered this is because I think it went way too cheap on Amazon. I think this is a $40 game, and it eventually dropped. It was like $20 when I ordered it. I was like, that doesn't seem like the right price, and I ordered it, and then it dropped again. So I wound up getting this for like $16. And right now, let's look this game up. Yeah, so $16.99 is what I paid for this game. It's on sale now for $39.99 on Amazon. So I think I got a hell of a deal out of this game. And when I looked up footage of it, it looked really interesting. It looked like a kind of reminded me of something like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but without the fighting. You don't fight in this. This is all just exploring an open world and solving puzzles. And that's what I did for a while. And I could definitely see myself coming back to this and playing. I know I've said that many times. I'm just looking in there now, and it includes a manual in there, so you're getting that as well, a little tiny little booklet. It also includes a download code for the soundtrack, which I don't know if I'm going to use or not. I like how it says here, includes download code for Rime Deluxe soundtrack, and then a little asterisk, only available in new copies, because they know that somebody's going to use the code, and then if you buy this used, that code might not be available. So it's interesting that they finally put that in there, where I haven't seen that on the other games before that include like God of War Saga or whatever. That it's like, oh, it includes 5 God of War games, but 2 of them are download only. So if you buy that game used and somebody's already used that code, you're only getting 3 games. So it doesn't mention that on the box, but it's interesting that that says this. So this is like, I really like the exploration of this game, solving the puzzles, and you know, just going on throughout the game. It seems really interesting. I will say that the downside to this is that there were some frame rate hiccups while I was playing this. It doesn't seem to play at that steady of a frame rate, and I've seen some really juddery frame rates while I was playing this. So that's the only downside to this game. But still, for the Switch, you'll be able to play this on the go or on your TV or whatnot. And I'm glad I did get it on the Switch, but it is available on other platforms as well. And that would be it. But just the other day, I was at Target, and I saw this, and it was $15, and this is Yakuza Kiwami. And I looked it up, and I was like, I have to buy this. And now the real reason I bought it is because it comes in this steelbook. And I'm like I said before, I'm a sucker for a steelbook. Now, it doesn't have a manual in there. But I've heard a lot about the Yakuza series, and I've never played a Yakuza game before. But it turns out that this Yakuza Kiwami is actually a remake of the first game in the series, and it seems like the perfect way to start. You know, playing into this is actually start from the beginning without having to actually play this on the PS2. And this was $30, but for some reason this was on clearance at Target for $15. So $15 for a steelbook game for something like this seemed like a no-brainer to me. I had to pick it up. And not only that, but this game was actually released not too long ago in the US. This was released back in August, which was like, what, 4 months ago? Not even 4 months ago, and already this is on clearance for $15? I don't know if this was a $60 game when it was released. I really don't know what the original price of this was. It's funny, I just had to look it up just to find out, but it looks like $30 is the original price of this. But on Amazon, this is even $20, and I think I looked that up before I bought it too. But $15, yeah, I'll buy it. I played a bit of it. It's another game with a lot of story intro. I'm actually only at the part now where my guy goes to prison, and like the whole main part of the game is after he gets out of prison, so I'm not even out of prison yet. But the whole game up to that point is kind of a tutorial and story combined, but the fighting and everything seems really cool. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me a bit of Shenmue. So I enjoyed that. When I played this. So again, this is another one of those games where it's like I can't wait to actually go back to play it. When I start streaming again, I don't know what I'm going to be playing. It might be this, it might be Tiny Barbarian, it might be Cave Story. You got Kingdom Hearts, just so many games to play. That's why I'm almost confident that I'm not going to be buying any more games from now until the end of the year. All the games came out for the Christmas season, the holiday season, and I think I've bought everything I possibly want. So yeah, this is just took me by surprise. Steelbook, and I bought it, and I'm really enjoying it. I've heard about it. I know a lot of people really enjoy the series, so so I wanted to jump into that, and this seemed like the perfect time to do that. So that's all the pickups. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I've been filming for like an hour, but I know I'm going to be cutting out a lot of stuff. But I'll leave it at that. Until next time, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.